Good afternoon and welcome to a special edition of the Betting Connection podcast. My name's Chris. I'm usually here with my co-host Rob, but he's not here. I'm doing this alone. We mentioned on our recent football pod that we're going to endeavour to bring more content to you guys. So we're going to look to do a little NFL corner, which I'm going to do. Sometimes it is going to be me and Rob, and he'll do it in an interview style. Other times I will just record it by myself, which is what I'm doing here today. He, in turn, will do the tennis section, as he is a tennis expert, has a lot of experience in the field. I am not an NFL expert. I don't pretend to be an NFL expert, but I tell you what, I absolutely love the game. I love the game. Probably as a neutral, I love it more than I love English Premier League football. I have explained this on a previous pod where my relationship with NFL comes from. But for those that didn't listen to that pod, I will just go into a bit of that background. So I grew up as a young kid in the 80s. My dad used to like NFL and he loved the Miami Dolphins in that decade, Dan Marino, etc. I did not fall in love with the Miami Dolphins. I fell in love with the Buffalo Bills. I vaguely remember the first of the four failed Super Bowls in succession against the New York Giants, but not really. But definitely the year after, when Buffalo lost to the Redskins, I do remember that. And I definitely remember the following two against the Dallas Cowboys, because I stayed up all night watching both and absolutely got heartbroken. And I loved that team. Thurman Thomas was my favorite. Andre Reed, Jim Kelly. It was such a great team. Just unbelievable that they never actually, won one of those Super Bowls. And still to this day, they haven't. I absolutely love the game. Like I just said at the beginning, I think as a neutral sport, just to watch any team against another team that, you don't have any specific desire for one team or the other to win, I just find it like engrossing and just more real. Like the Premier League football, European football in general, as you probably know from the pods, I'm an Arsenal fan. I love watching Arsenal. I never, ever miss an Arsenal game. But as I've got older, I don't watch as much football when it's just random team against random team, because I do find it sometimes a bit boring. I do find it a bit too much play acting, bad refereeing, and whatnot. And with the NFL, I just find it so real. It's a short season. Every game every game means something to everybody. Doesn't matter what your record is throughout the season, whether teams are fighting to get into the playoffs or not. It's just hardcore action. And ultimately, most games do have excitement that end up with, last quarter drama, last 2-minute drama. So love the game, love Buffalo. Since those Super Bowls, Buffalo did not have much to shout about at all. There was a real dry period. I do believe that actually Buffalo went one of the longest periods, if not the longest period of any team without getting into the playoffs at one time, through the early noughties, I think. Very depressing. And more recently, under Josh Allen, it's been fantastic watch again. I do believe that Buffalo have missed out on an opportunity of winning a Super Bowl over the last 2 or 3 years. I kind of started, I think, 4 seasons ago. They got to the AFC Championship match against Kansas City. I don't think Buffalo were the best team that year. It was the closest that we got. recent years as we got to the championship game. But I don't think we personally were ready to win that Super Bowl if we got there. But after that, I would say the following couple of years, yes, I do. I think Buffalo have been up there and definitely with a shout to say they have been the best team. But have been unlucky. There was another game against, well, 3 out of the last 4 seasons in the playoffs, we've lost to Kansas City. So they're becoming a bit of a pain in the backside. And yeah, like there was a game that went to overtime, and that was heartbreaking. I think the season after they changed the rules as well, where like if a team goes up and scores a touchdown, then the other team get to reply when it goes to overtime. So that was heartbreaking. And then we lost to Cincinnati Bengals. I think that year, like we were the best team in the NFL that year, but injuries piled up, and by the time it got to playoffs, we just had nothing more to give. So yeah, it feels like we've lost an opportunity because I don't have the same optimism as a Buffalo Bills fan coming into this season. So actually, they've surprised me at the start of this year. The first game they played the Cardinals, which was a comeback win, and then absolutely smashed Miami last week. So actually, that's 2-0, which I probably wasn't expecting. And yeah, maybe we can have a successful year without the hope being as high. That first match was against Arizona Cardinals. And before the game, I would have expected to win it. But then after the game and after seeing Arizona again last week, I actually think that will turn out to be a really, really good win. Cardinals, and that leads me nicely actually onto my pick of the week, my one single of the week, which is the Cardinals to beat the Detroit Lions. Now, as I say, I think that Arizona Cardinals are going to have a good season. They have got Kyler Murray. I love Kyler Murray, always liked him. I think he's had some injury problems of late, but he looks like he's fully fit again. James Conner, running back, and they've added Marvin Harrison Jr. as a wide receiver. They have got a unit going forward, and they are going to score a lot of points. I think they will concede a lot, but they will score more than they concede in a lot of games, which evidently will win matches. So when you've got a team like that can move the chains both in the air and on the ground, then you've got a chance. You've really got a chance. Now they're playing the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are I've got a soft spot for the Lions. I really do like them, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, I loved him as a player when he first kind of came on the scene, and then I watched the Netflix documentary as well, which is kind of detailed on certain wide receivers, and he's one of them. And yeah, I like him even more. He seems like a nice guy, and yeah, like I love this guy, but he hasn't made an impact this year. I don't know if he's still carrying a bit of an injury. Detroit Lions haven't looked good in the red zone, and yeah, if they struggle to score, then they are definitely going to get beaten this weekend by the Cardinals, who definitely look like they know how to score. So I am putting this as my main and really my one and only official pick this weekend. So Arizona Cardinals to beat the Lions. I've got a line of 2.25, which for the American audience out there, that's a plus 125. I think this is really good odds. They are at home as well. Lions got beaten by the Buccaneers last week, and Cardinals, who were very unfortunate to beat the Bills at the home of Buffalo, and then destroyed LA Rams last week. So look, I'm going with the odds here. I think it's very good for a home team with such an offensive weapons. So that would be my pick of the week, guys. Now I've looked at the rest of the matches, and look, the reason why I don't have any other amazing single picks is because it's very common for tipsters in the American sports world to give their kind of handicap picks. Yeah, so they're constantly looking at the spread and the over-unders to give good tips at around the 1.9 mark. Now, I personally do not like betting on a spread when the team is the favorite. So when you've got like a -5 handicap, -3, -6, -10.5, whatever the spread is, when it's the favorite, I don't like betting on it. I just don't. It's the same. I think Rob mentioned in a previous pod about the same thing with football when betting on handicaps like -1 goals, for example, with odds on favorite teams. Teams don't have to win by 10 points. Yeah, so I don't like putting my money down on a team that don't have to do something. They have to win. They want to win. So you can always bet the money line. But when you're betting on a minus spread, I think it's a dangerous game to play because you don't know how the game's going to play out. And if it turns out into the fourth quarter where they have got a lead, but maybe a little bit slimmer than anticipated, they're just going to run the ball, run down the clock, and potentially not look to get any more points. So I don't personally like that play. So you won't be getting many picks from me on the minors. If I see something that really stands out and I think that the bookies have got it wrong, yeah, of course, that's a different matter. But the bookies are often quite right with the spread. So therefore, it becomes a bit of a 50-50 play. And like I say, I think you lose the edge, you lose the advantage when the game is, the clock's running down and that team just needs to secure the win. So I will not be making any plays like that. And then looking at the lineup for this weekend, I just don't, there's nothing that jumps off the page as good value. And I don't want to give single picks with the really short odds on. So I will then just go with a little parlay, okay, of short odds, okay. And again, like our big gun Aka with the football, trying to navigate the minefield and potential slip ups, because there will always be slip ups with even the shortest of odds. So it's trying to find the ones that you feel more comfortable with. Okay, so I'm going to start with Tampa Bay. So I'm going for Tampa Bay home win against the Denver Broncos. Tampa Bay have been quite surprisingly good so far this season. Although that's the word that people keep using, surprisingly good. However, they actually finished last season pretty strong as well. So it shouldn't be as a surprise. They have actually won 8 of the last 10 they've played, dating back into last season. And at home, they've won 5 out of the last 6. So they are in good form. Baker Mayfield, very impressive when he's on it, and he's looking really good so far. They smashed the Washington Commanders on the opening game week, and last week they beat the Detroit Lions, which was against the bookies. It was a surprise. I did have Lions on a little parlay last week, so I wasn't happy about that. So this time I'm going to have to jump on the Baker Mayfield wagon and back them against the Broncos team that are playing with a rookie quarterback, Bo Nix. It's not looking so good for him at the moment. Early days, it's not fair to pass judgment yet, but he has thrown 4 interceptions without a touchdown pass in return. He's completions under 60%, I think, at the moment. It's not looking great. Tampa Bay, good form, strong at home. Happy to put them on my parlay. The next one's a little bit more of a question mark. I do fancy the 49ers at LA Rams, but this again is they are literally ravaged with injuries on both sides. Okay, like Sam Fran are without McCaffrey, Debo, George Kittle is a big question mark. It looks like he's not going to make it neither. That is a lot of power, offensive power being taken out of the game. But I think they still will have enough on both sides of the ball with the linesmen. I think that they will win that matchup because the LA Rams, they have some of their key players injured as well in Cup and Booker, but it's at that scrimmage where I think that they're going to fall down. They've got a lot of offensive linesmen out as well, defensive backs missing. There's going to be room in the secondary for 49ers to take advantage of. I fancy them here. They have a good record as well. San Fran are 9 out of their last 11 meetings they've won. That's pretty strong. This is a matchup that happens every year as well, as it's a divisional match. So that's recent history. So 9 out of the last 11 matches. Rams do have a good home record at the moment. They are 5-1 out of the last 6 games, so they are in good form at home. But yeah, I think we saw what happened last week when they got completely blown away by the Arizona Cardinals. 49ers, they lost to the Vikings, but look, I like the Vikings. Vikings are a great team, and it was a close match. So even with some injuries, they did put up a fight. LA Rams without their key men, they got blown away. I'm going for the 49ers win here, and we're putting that onto the parlay. The final 2 games of this 4-team parlay, actually, these 2 games are the Monday night matches, and they're playing 2 games on Monday night this week, which I know has upset some fans, actually. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts on that are. But the 2 games in question is the Buffalo Bills, which, as you know, is my team. I'm backing them to beat the Jags. Bills are 2-0, as I've already said. Jags are the opposite. They've lost both of their opening games. Lawrence looks terrible, like terrible. I don't know what's happened. He was always a little bit like hit and miss. I mean, he's got an absolute cannon of an arm, but can really throw some really dodgy passes as well. I think he's only at about 50% completion at the moment. So look, got to back the form team. Bills are traditionally very good at home. This is a repeat. This is the match that they played in London last year. Bills were the home team. I was at that match. Probably the worst the Bills played all season. It was my first ever match. Not my first NFL match. I've been to other NFL matches. I've seen LA Rams a couple of times, both in Los Angeles and in London. But this was my first ever Buffalo Bills match as a fan of 30 years. I went to the Tottenham Stadium, which is another reason for me to recoil. But I went to the Tottenham Stadium. My God, like lifelong dream to watch Buffalo Bills, and they were terrible. It was the worst game of their season last year. And they lost, and this will be hopefully a bit of revenge for that, at least for me. It always was a bit weird that you lose one of your home games. You go to London, you as the home team in inverted commas, and you do. That is a lack of a little bit of a disadvantage with not playing, in Buffalo. Although I have to say, Tottenham Stadium were packed with Buffalo fans that day. Really good atmosphere, but the surface was terrible. There were players like really having difficulty. There were some big injuries because of the surface. So, yeah, just not a pretty game. So I will definitely be backing Bills to avenge that defeat and come out on top to beat the Jags. Last but not least, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, home to Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders were my tip last week as a single pick to beat the Giants, which they did do. However, it wasn't amazing. Jaden Daniels, I really like the look of this guy, I have to say, but he can still be a bit erratic. It's early days, but I think he's going to end up being a real good franchise quarterback. He had a good game last week. I mean, they just had difficulty finishing off moves, drives. They really just did, and ended up having to kick their way to a win. To be fair, that you could argue that they were a bit lucky because if the kicking was as good on the other side, then they probably would have lost. But the Giants lost their kicker in the early part of the game to injury, and then yeah, that was probably the difference in the end. So yeah, Commanders definitely not a strong team throughout, although they do have a danger man as quarterback. But look, Bengals, they have lost their first two games of the season, but come on. I mean, this is a great team. They were beaten, shock of the week on game week one. But last week against Kansas City, they did not deserve to lose that match. Very unlucky, very controversial at the end as well, which gave the game to Kansas City. Look, they need to win this game. It's as simple as that. They cannot afford to go 0 for 3. They just cannot. Cincinnati at home, Joe Burrow, they will win this game. I am sure of it. So there's your 14 parlay. We've got the Tampa Bay, we've got 49ers, we've got Buffalo, and we've got the Cincinnati Bengals. Put those four together, and we have got a parlay of 3.20, 3.2 in American money. That is plus 220, plus 220, and yeah, that for me looks a half decent bet. So that's that'll bring us on to the end of the pod, really. I just wanted to get online, give you guys a bit of content. I hope the American fans out there are not offended by this Cockney English guy speaking about their beloved sport. Like I say, I've got a huge passion for this game. I like to think I've got a bit of insight, but I certainly hope to give you guys different way of looking at things, and hope to help get some good picks together. I really would like some feedback on some of the picks that I'm going to give you. Anything that you think that I've missed, anything that you don't like, anything that you probably think I've gone and stood on a landmine and blown myself up in this forever growing minefield, is that it's the betting game. There was others there that that were of similar odds to these four, but I did back away for my own reasons. So if there's any there that you think that are dead certs that I've missed, please let me know in the comments. Please let me know which landmine I've stood on, if you think I've stood on one. And yeah, I wish you guys all the best for a successful weekend. Please listen out to our podcast that we put out yesterday, which is a football podcast, a soccer podcast for you Americans. That's soccer that we specialize in European matches, and we've had successful. That was our fifth podcast that we recorded yesterday. The previous four were all heavily winning podcasts. We're putting out posts on all of your social media channels. Just search the Betting Connection. X is the one that we're on the most, because we get to write a bit more on our posts, because we like to give detailed analysis or feeling as to why we're making our picks. We're not just this tipster that just randomly gives you names and odds and says, go and copy me. That's not what we're looking to do here. I'm not looking to make to be a millionaire in a week. This is about steady gains, about progressive revenue by betting smart, by getting those odds of just better than evens, and making sure that we are successful more than 50% of the time. If we're doing odds of over evens at 50, 55% of the time, we are gradually making money. We are way higher than that in our success rate, which is why we know and why we have over many, many years made money on sports betting. So please listen out to all our pods. Please follow us. Please comment. Please engage with us. We want to see what you guys are thinking. We want to see what you guys have. Have you got different strategies? Do you like to combine teams differently? How do you do it? We're here together. We will strive to be better. That's our motto. We want to do this together. Let's take down the bookies. Let's get successful and make some money together. Guys, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. we will be doing this going forward. Like I say, Rob will start delivering some tennis podcasts for you as well. And yeah, have a great weekend and wish you all the best. Ciao for now.